Welcome to this episode of the Conscious Business Coffee Break, where we take a few moments to explore what's happening in the conscious business movement, expand awareness, and encourage your efforts in conscious business. Greetings, everyone. I'm Stephen Donaco of the Conscious Business Enterprise, a division of Humanities team. And on today's program, we're going to look at Principle 1 of the Conscious Business Declaration. We are one. So taking a little bit of a different approach to the coffee break for these next several episodes, and we're going to look at each principle, each of the 7 principles of the Conscious Business Declaration, and then just take a deeper look into them. So if you're not aware, a Humanities team is one of the creators of the Conscious Business Declaration. I've referred to it before on the coffee break, and there's always been a link to the Conscious Business Declaration in the video background, so or the comments to the video. So of course I'll be posting those again. But the link to the Conscious Business Declaration, it will take you to a web page that outlines the 7 principles that were created by Humanities team and 3 other non-governmental organizations in the interest of supporting a conscious business movement. And if you go to the Wikipedia and you look up conscious business, you'll see some of the further background on the declaration. So for instance, it was created in 2015 by Humanities team, the Goy Peace Foundation, the Club of Budapest, and the Fowler Center for Business as an agent of world benefit, which operates out of Case Western Reserve University. And the declaration is self-described as a new standard for business in the 21st century. And it was a year's effort. It's 7 principles, but it took a full year to actually really thoughtfully come up with these principles. And then it was officially made public in 2016. And you can go to the website, consciousbusinessdeclaration.org, and sign it. You could just sign it right there online if the principles resonate with you. So to help you become more familiar with it, and if you already are a signer of the declaration, thank you, and want to provide this opportunity to just take not only a deeper look, but really help to make it more meaningful and applicable for you and what you do in your business, or you as a consumer that supports businesses. So let's just start with the preamble. So the declaration starts with a statement, which we call a preamble, that says, as a global community of business leaders, we are committed to developing the awareness and skills needed to consciously evolve our organizations in alignment with these principles. And as I mentioned today, we're looking at Principle 1. So Principle 1 is that we are one with humanity and all of life. Business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So let's break that down. So the first statement, we are one with humanity and all of life. And I would invite you to meditate on that for a few moments. And once you're done watching the video, take that statement, that simple statement, we are one with humanity and all of life, and sit with that in your meditation. It really is a cosmological summary statement of the spirit of the declaration. We are one with humanity and all of life. And just breathe that in, sit with it, and allow it to become alive within your own soul. So that's the first sentence of Principle 1. And then it follows with, business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So this is oneness. Now, this is also, in that statement, that second sentence, a recognition of business as one of at least 3 core pillars of human activity on Earth. Business plus society plus government. And then we could further break down other institutions from those 3, but if we could just generally, at the highest level, look at business, society, and government as 3 core pillars of human activity on Earth. But we recognize in the Conscious Business Declaration that business is called out specifically. So business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality. Now, the reality referenced here is a material reality, and it's what becomes manifest in the realm of matter. It is business is operating interdependently in this physical world of the things that we can see and feel and touch and taste. Yet the substance of that is the unseen, what we might call spirit or presence. And this is what gives power. This is what gives life to matter. So the reality that we reference in the Conscious Business Declaration is the single reality of this material world, but we also understand and we have deep respect for the spirit or the power of presence that animates all matter. And if we take a deeper analysis of that, those three, of that business as an institution um, of human activity, business, society, and government uh, all must operate in balance to support a flourishing humanity and a flourishing planet. And often today, unfortunately, what has happened is that we have two of those pillars that have sort of been in cahoots with one another, business and government, at the expense of society. So in this world, it's our work in conscious business to really wake up business to the truth that we need to, and it's essential that we find a balance among the three pillars of business, society, and government, and that they're all operating in harmony. Because whenever there's an imbalance and business and government are in cahoots at the expense of society, we realize all of the problems that we're experiencing on Earth, whether they're environmental, societal, governmental corruption, and so forth. Okay, so then the single reality, again, in that first principle, a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So every human creation, everything, every object, everything, every machine, every human creation, every piece of art, every human creation has an interrelation, an interconnection, and an interdependence on one or more other creations. So just do a really simple uh, experiment and take any object that you own, any object that you see in front of you, any object, man-made object that you come across, and just think about that and think about how that came to being. So the the cell phone that I'm using to record this video, it is interdependent on so many other activities, human resource activities, other natural resources, raw materials, and the creation of those things into other objects that make up this phone. And that's true with any man-made object that you come upon, or that you yourself build, or work in support of in your own business. So there's an absolute interdependence, interconnectivity with everything that's man-made, and nothing ever exists in a vacuum. And even if you, let's say, are an artist and you do sculptures out of driftwood, um, you're dependent on nature to provide that for you. Like, you, in and of yourself, don't aren't able to manifest that object just out of thin air. It comes from an interdependence on nature and the environment to create that raw material for you. So, and then another way we look at this is that our actions, every human action has an impact. So let's start with our thoughts. Now, our thoughts have an internal impact. Our thoughts have an internal impact on the thinking person's states of being. So we can literally think ourselves into a state of anxiety by pondering about things that worry us, um, or letting our concerns get the better of us. So we can think ourselves into an anxious state. We can also think ourselves into happy and joyful states by meditating and thinking about those things that we love and things that bring us happiness. So our thoughts have an internal impact on states of being. And then our actions have an external impact, some of which we're aware and many more of which we're not. So for instance, and let's look at this in the context of business, right? So if business is mining the earth for raw materials, that's having a lot of ripple impacts on the environment. So one being that an impact might be that it is polluting the groundwater. Uh, Another impact, let's say in the clearing of rainforests, we're having an impact on climate, having an impact on ecosystems, right? So and the intended impact is, let's say, just to harvest raw materials, and then those other impacts, which are not revered or not respected, are those impacts that are harmful to environments and society. And and then even if we just take that to a very local level and you talk about your own self, right? If we say, think about when you're talking and interacting with another person, and somebody comes to you and is just asking for you to be present, like they're going through a rough time. And when people need support, when we all need support from one another emotionally and spiritually, oftentimes the other person is just wanting somebody to hear them. And if you do that, you're having a positive impact. The person feels your presence. The person feels that you're available and that you're compassionate. However, if you provide them all of a sudden with a bunch of solutions to their problems and you try to fix it and you start giving advice, that could very easily turn into a perception by the other that you're not really listening, that you have an interest in being the hero, coming in and uh, fixing their problem without really understanding or trying to feel into their need for support. So every action has an external impact, some of which we're aware of and many more of which we're not. So the first principle of the Conscious Business Declaration, we are one with humanity and all of life. Business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So I invite you to go to the Conscious Business Declaration, consciousbusinessdeclaration.org. And if you've signed it, great. We're grateful that you have. If you haven't, we invite you to sign it if those principles resonate with you. And if you've signed it and you haven't seen it in a while, I invite you to go back and refamiliarize yourself with those principles and just really embody them. Claim them as your own, so that when you're going out and doing business, you are truly in alignment with these principles. And particularly, as we talked about today, the the principle and the reality of oneness. So that's it for the coffee break today. Next episode, we'll go into principle two and discuss that in more detail. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. Wish you all much love, joy, and happiness in your lives. And we will see you again on Wednesday next week at 9 a.m. U.S. Central Time for another edition of the Conscious Business Coffee Break. Have a great day, everyone.